Have you ever clicked that little blue button to buy something online? I mean, of course you have. Well, today, we're going to unpack the wild story behind that button. It's a story filled with intense competition, some huge bets, and a group of founders who would eventually be called the PayPal Mafia.
Right, so what is the connection here? The answer is a company that was born out of a classic Silicon Valley rivalry, a company that ended up defining the entire future of e-commerce. We're talking mergers, spin-offs, and just this relentless push to become the internet's go-to digital wallet. Okay, let's get into it. So, here's our game plan. We'll start with PayPal's kind of chaotic beginnings, then look at its explosive growth with eBay. After that, we'll dive into how it works as a global business today, and finally, we'll tackle the serious power and the serious controversies that come with handling everyone's money.
To really get PayPal, you have to picture the dot-com boom back in the late 90s. It was a crazy time, and right in the middle of it all, two competing startups were on a collision course that would literally change how we think about money. Okay, look at how fast this all happened. It's just wild. You've got Confinity, started by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, focusing on security. And then you have Elon Musk's super ambitious online bank, X.com. They were fierce rivals until, boom, they merged in 2000. But after a lot of internal drama, Musk makes this huge call. He bets the whole company on their simplest feature, this little email payment system. And just 2 years after making that bet, they're a public company. This whole intense experience forged a network so powerful that these guys would go on to found companies like Tesla, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And that's really the origin of the PayPal Mafia.
So PayPal goes public, they're riding high, but their independence was, let's say, very short-lived. See, the biggest fish in the e-commerce pond back then, eBay, saw PayPal not just as a handy tool, but as the absolute key to its entire kingdom. So eBay decided to make a massive, multi-billion-dollar move.
And there's the number, $1.5 billion. That's what eBay paid to buy PayPal in October of 2002, just a few months after its IPO. eBay knew that to completely dominate its own marketplace, it had to own the payment system that its users already loved and trusted. And at that point, something like 70% of all eBay auctions were already accepting PayPal.
And boy, did that billion-dollar bet pay off. A decade later, PayPal wasn't just a side feature on eBay. By 2012, it was generating a mind-blowing 40% of eBay's entire revenue. It had basically become the financial engine powering the whole e-commerce giant.
But then, by 2015, the tables had totally turned. An activist investor, a guy named Carl Icahn, started making noise, arguing that eBay was now actually holding PayPal back. And after a huge push, he got his way. eBay spun PayPal off. It was, once again, its own public company, totally free to build a future beyond just online auctions. And what did it do with that freedom? Well, it went on an absolutely epic, multi-billion-dollar shopping spree. They snapped up Braintree to get a major foothold in mobile payments. And that deal also brought Venmo into the family. They grabbed Xoom for international money transfers, iZettle for in-store payments. And then, in their biggest deal ever, they dropped $4 billion on the rewards platform, Honey. So, flash forward to today, and PayPal is this global monster. We're talking 426 million active accounts in over 200 markets. So, how does this giant, complex machine actually work and make its money?
You know, this wasn't an accident. It was a really smart, deliberate strategy. Step 1, completely dominate the core eBay user base in America. Step 2, use eBay to go international. And Step 3, this was the real key. Build a payment business completely separate from eBay. The genius was the model itself. Just take a tiny slice of every single transaction. For you, the consumer, it feels free. For a seller, it's just the small cost of making a secure sale. It was always a volume game, and this strategy was built to get the massive, massive volume.
And this right here shows you just how well that third phase worked. PayPal became a truly global platform. The US is still its anchor, for sure, but that 42% from other countries? That represents hundreds of millions of people and businesses, all sending money, all giving PayPal a tiny piece of the pie with every single click. That is the machine in action. But here's the thing. When you process billions of dollars and act as the financial middleman for millions of people, you have immense power. And that kind of power has dragged PayPal right into some major controversies and brought a ton of criticism over the years.
This quote from Freedom House really hits on a recurring problem. The company has been accused over and over again of freezing accounts that are tied to political activities, to journalism, to activism,
And that has sparked these really intense debates about its role. Is it just a payment processor, or is it becoming an arbiter of free speech?
So you've got these two sides of the coin, right? On one side, PayPal says, hey, we're just enforcing our rules to prevent crime and comply with the law. But on the other side, you have critics saying that these same rules are being used arbitrarily to shut down legitimate voices and causes, often with no clear explanation or way to appeal. And this tension has exploded in some very public ways. They've famously cut off donations to WikiLeaks, they've frozen funds for huge, successful crowdfunding campaigns, they've deplatformed performers in the adult industry, and, who could forget, they published and then very, very quickly retracted a policy that would have fined users $2,500 for spreading what they called misinformation.
So here's the bottom line. Despite all the controversies, you just can't deny PayPal's impact. It solved a fundamental problem of the early internet: trust. How do you trust the stranger online with your money? PayPal made people comfortable with that idea, and in doing so, it literally paved the way for e-commerce to explode into what it is today.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? The world of digital money is way more crowded now. You've got giants like Apple, new things like crypto. Everyone is fighting for a piece of the action. Whether PayPal can keep innovating and keep its top spot, well, that's going to be the next chapter in its very, very eventful story.